Hey family, as I promised in the last video on the segment of why church, why we should actually physically attend church, we went through the biblical aspect, what God says that's most important, hands down, most important. Now I want to show you some of the practical benefits, and I'm going to give some testimonies because testimonies are important. So for today, I'm going to focus on the financial growth that I've been able to have and many others in my church, right? Well over 20 individuals in the body of my church within a span of 7 to 8 years have I seen been able to obtain financial gains by laboring with them. And I want to share two, maybe three aspects of it. All right. So without any further ado, the practical benefits of going to church, serving God, and how there has actually been financial growth as a result of it. Right. Now, as they say, results may differ and all that other stuff is all on God's will and alignment, but peep what I'm saying. And the aspect of me giving a testimony, I want to encourage you, right? Let's look at Paul writing to Achia in 2 Corinthians 9 and 12, right? So he said, 1 and 2, I'm sorry. He said, there is no need for me to write to you about this service to the Lord's people, for I know your eagerness to help. He was talking about giving. And I've been boasting about it to the Macedonians, telling them that since last year, you and Achia were ready to give. And your enthusiasm has stirred most of them to action, right? To be able to give a testimony is to help motivate you. Like I said from my last video, I've seen so many individuals feel that it's just okay to watch from the phone, to give a comment, to give a share, and that's important, right? We appreciate those. But nothing beats being with the brethren. From the biblical and now from the practical. So I'm sharing what I'm going to share is to help inspire you. I'll give you another passage, right? And John wrote in Revelations, and they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb. That's important. Jesus Christ only. Jesus Christ first. And because of the word of their testimonies. And they did not love their life even when faced with death. Right? By serving the Lord, committing to him, understanding his saving grace, right? And the strengthening of the testimonies of the brethren, we all can overcome any situation or hardship. So I'm giving you this testimony to encourage, come back, to be a part, right? And to let you know that there are practical benefits in serving God's church, right? And being with the brethren. When you go to church physically, right, this increases and strengthens your network as you bond with the individuals. We must always keep in mind that the church is not just four walls, it's the people. We read last time in the last video that where two or three are gathered, he is there in the midst, right? And in this collective of people, they're individuals with different backgrounds, different outlooks, different skill sets, different experience that helps to shape in the people in the community. And when you're there with the brethren, you help to shape in that community too. You are a part of that ecosystem that leads to the benefit practically, which a financial is a practical application, mentally, physically, spiritually, all. And we're looking at these from practical aspects. So here's some takeaways that I want, right? What I want you to leave with is seeking God first, doing his will first. That's what I want you to leave with first and foremost. And that when you're serving the Lord, it pays for your particular well-being, for your particular spiritual growth and development, but also for the benefit and development of others, as well as practical development of you as well. I want to encourage you to speak up to your network, right? If you're having an issue, if you have a situation, if you have a business, I'm saying you can feel free to share it, right? And you will be able to see that your brethren will be able to help you grow, right? Look towards a mentor, right? In my aspect in my life, there's so many individuals that I've been able to learn and grow with, labor with, partake of. And I'm going to share one of those individuals in this presentation. But I want you to do those factors. Seek God first, serving God's pace, speak up and network, and look to mentor. The things I don't want you to go to do and take from this is that you have an opportunity to hustle. Hustle the church by having individuals take or be a part of your business, have opportunity to misuse the youth, And number three, to say, hey, I'm coming to church because, I lost my job and I need to network so I can be able to get me some revenue. That's nothing wrong with those things, but what's most important is, except for misusing, is that we seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added onto us, right? God has put certain desires in you, right? But when we put those desires over the subjection and obedience to doing God's will, things get out of whack. And if it does prosper, right, what about your soul salvation? Jesus said, hey, what is it to you to gain the whole world and to lose your soul? And that's the most important. What's better is to serve God, and in serving God, he will open up doors and pave ways for you so that you can meet those desires that you have on earth, but your soul salvation won't be lost. I hope that was clear, right? Moving right along, I want to talk about the blueprint that I've seen, right? The blueprint one is to serve the Lord first, right? Dedicating yourself to the Lord, read the Bible, pray, submit your life to Jesus, let the Holy Spirit lead you, get baptized and become a member. Mark 16:16 says, to him that believe and is baptized shall be saved. Number two is commit your time and your gifts as an aspect to worship to the Lord by working personally for him and through his church. So whether it's by yourself out there publicly as well as working within the church, you're to do so. By doing this, you're utilizing your gifts to advance the gospel in any way that you can. Some may be filling out, some may know what their gifts are, some may not. But in service, you are rendering your worship unto the Lord through action and deeds. You're helping to develop skills that you may have known that you've had or didn't know that you have, and you may be sharpening some of the skills that you already knew that you had, right? And this skill helps to give you exposure. Once members see that you're consistent and that you're genuine, they will become some of your biggest supporters and promoters, and or at least they'll pray for you for your advancement while here on this earth and in preparation for the earth made new. I hope that's clear. I want to give a case. My man Carlos, right? Carlos came into the States, and I remember when he came into the States, he was nice. He's a very introverted young man, but one of the things he did was consistent. Came every Sabbath, came to Wednesday night prayer meetings. If there was a social, he was there, even if he didn't talk much. He always cleaned, right? Put away chairs, tables. And I was a part of the youth and the communication department at my church. And he would always say, hey, do you need help with something? I can help if you need. And we started putting him to help. A couple of months in, he said to me, not only to me, he started networking, he started socializing, he started speaking up and saying, hey, I've been here for a couple of months and I haven't been able to find any work. When I was back home, I used to do electrical work. Now, I know that the codes are a little bit different, but I'm willing to help and I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to work. And because we saw his dedication, because we saw his commitment, because we saw that he was truly seeking, right, to have a relationship with God, he not only told me, but he told my brother, and we both started looking and speaking. And we spoke to some of the independent contractors that were in our church. And because the independent contractors knew of his dedication in church, even though they didn't see any electrical work that he did, they gave him an opportunity. They took him under the wing. And whenever they had jobs, they would take him to work with them. Some more often than others, right? It's all based on capacity and income. But all of them as a collective brought him in, right? Galatians 6:2, what you see there on the bottom, indicates that we're to bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. The church is eager to do that. We're eager to support one another. Yeah, you may have some interesting people, right? Or some interesting sets. But on the whole, we are here to bear one another's burden, and that is the particular desire, right? Even if you feel like you don't get it from the whole church, you're going to find a portion of individuals who are there to support, and you don't need a conglomerate of individuals. Sometimes all you need is the one, the two, or the handful, right? Just putting a nail on the coffin. Being consistent and active means you volunteer continually. You're utilizing your skills for the church. When you're doing this, this is granting you exposure. individuals can see your consistency, your dedication to the Lord. They're able also to see your skill sets and your gifts, which as individuals see, they start talking, they start conversing, which gives individuals the opportunity to not only just see your work or see what you're doing, but actually will grant opportunities. And if you're in need or they know what your skill set is, they'll start to invite you into their house to do particular jobs or start referencing you to organizations and companies so that you can have service. I'll give you an example. All right. For example, for me, when I came out of college, I was looking for work, and I remember before I got the opportunity, which my cousin hooked me up with, was, Lord, if I can get a job, because I was looking for before, if I can get a job, Lord, I promise you, if I get in, I will serve the job as if I'm serving you, right? No matter who's my boss, no matter what it is, I'm serving you. And I had the opportunity to work for a nonprofit organization that did social services, right? Which is a connect service to the people. And I remember I was grateful, one, because it was small, and I'll talk about the benefits of being in a small organization in another video down the line. But one, it was small, and number two, they were doing social service work. So it's like, yo, Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. If you're particularly working towards helping underprivileged individuals, it's like, yo, you actually showing the love of Jesus here. So I was super enthused with the work. I took my vows to God serious, and individuals started realizing, okay, he's grasping, he's understanding the concepts, he's working longer than individuals, and he's not necessarily worried about the compensation component, but he's truly working diligently and dedicating. When opportunities open up, when job opportunities open up, and say, hey, man, you kind of do good work. Do you know anybody else that may be looking? We have a vacancy. I mean, we're equal opportunity employer, but if you give a reference, we would consider them. And because I networked in my church, because I label individuals in my church, and I see where their skill sets particularly were, I knew what position was open. I said, yeah, you know what, actually I do. And then that person got in. And as we continually start to diligently work, there were opportunities that opened up where we were able to climb. And even as we climbed, they asked, hey, do you have somebody that can replace yourself that you know within your network? You got equal opportunity employers. And they allowed us, so it was from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 7 at one point, right? And from 7 we had like around 10 at particular one point. And even to this day, there are times where I'd be asked, hey, do you know any particular individuals that's looking for work? And whenever they hear Adventist or would see the word Adventist or anything in regards to Adventist on a resume, they will give them a look, because they realize that these pool and these sets of individuals seem to be dedicated. Some individuals don't stay, right? As they get opportunities to move elsewhere, they move elsewhere, but they know that, hey, they're sound individuals. And anything that we gave a reference to was severely looked, because not only did we climb, but we excelled. And most of us here, we're all human. I'm not going to say we were flawless, right? But our attitude and our mindset was in servitude and service of the Lord. So I want to encourage you, right? In our blueprint, it was a technique to it. And I think about Daniel often. Here is Daniel chapter 1, and I really was determining how much of Daniel I would include in this testimony. But I feel that is important, right? The church is made up of the body, right? But not everybody is efficient for every position. And one of the things that I looked at when I was reading Daniel, which stood out to me, was this thing. So I'm going to read it now. Daniel chapter 1. In the year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel. Right? It didn't say 4. It says certain of the children. So let's think of a broader population. And of the king's seed and of the princes. So these are all the individuals that is coming out of Jerusalem. Right? In verse 6 it says, now among these, right, of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And one of the things that I realized is when selecting individuals, this is a side note, when selecting individuals from the church to represent God in the environments that you're recommending them to, right? That we must be intentional about our selection, right? It's not a, I don't want to say you can love and you're supposed to be friendly with everybody. That's important. But when you're having an opportunity, the reason why we were able to get so many individuals into the organization, I was always, because I was first, I was always being asked, if I didn't give the recommendation, hey, such and such gave a recommendation. Do you know that person? What do you know about them? Would you be a reference for them? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure. That's not a problem. Anybody came to me that needed a reference, I had no problem giving it to them. But if I'm putting my seal, I was always honest and transparent. This is what I looked at. I looked at how they conducted themselves in church. I looked at what position they were in the church. If it's for a child care position, which this nonprofit organization had, and they were part of Sabbath School or Pathfinders or any program that was with kids, and they were diligent, they gave good feedback, they were authoritative, they were there. If it was something in regards to administrative, I see how they worked. And the leaders of the church started to not only start into certain positions, but also became leaders in those positions, and they established it because all of them worked like they worked for God. And how did I know that that would be the case? They worked like they were working for the Lord when they were working for Him, and they were diligent with it, even though there was no paycheck, even though there was no commission, even though there was no salary. Sometimes there may be a flower or a plaque, right? But they were dedicated, and in knowing those individuals, networking with those individuals, seeing those individuals, I knew that, hey, they would come into the organization and they would do an excellent job. All the other individuals that gave recommendations, they felt the same way. And when you're coming in, when you're servicing, not only will you potentially be the candidate that can help that organization to grow or your organization to grow, you can also start seeing individuals and give them opportunities. It's totally symbiotic. Right now, I'll give the explanation about me in work, right? Talked about how some of these individuals came and grow, but I got married, and it was a nonprofit organization, especially, early 2000 nonprofit was really like nonprofit, right? So I got married, and when I got married, as people normally do, a little one came in, and when my daughter came in, I knew without a doubt that the income that I was making was not going to be able to support a family, especially in Brooklyn with the cost of living, right? And the agreement was, hey, if we have a child, that Emery will be able to take some months off, right? And in my heart, she could take as long as she want off to be able to bond and rear the little one. But that presented me with a challenge. And it's like, oh man, I'm going to take care of it. And I remember reading Exodus, right? Exodus 18 and 19. Now, like I said, I've been doing communication for maybe 4 or 5 years now, right? So that's over 200 posting, over 200 edited videos, a couple of commercials, having the videos cut for TV, right? And at this point, I was like, okay, well, Lord, what do I do? This little one is coming. I'm not making enough money. And He's like, I already gave you the skill sets. So I'm like, man, okay, I can start working with these skill sets, but how am I going to manage this? I don't feel convicted to give up work yet. What am I going to do? And I remember reading Exodus 19 to 22, and I believe that, God led me to this passage. Just a background, in the book of Numbers, we get a number of about 600,000 people that left Egypt. All right. Now, this doesn't include everybody. And remember, there were people who were not Hebrew that left with the Hebrews. Right. So well over 600,000 individuals that was with Moses. Now, Moses is starting to get stressed and bogged down. Right. His father-in-law, Jethro, comes to him and he's like, hey, hearken now unto my voice, and I will give you counsel. and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people God word, that thou mayest bringest the cause unto God, and thou shalt teach them ordinance laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. How does this apply for me? Right? I'm having a business model, I'm having a construct. I don't have the time to work and go to different places to pitch, to record, to develop the website. Everything under the aspect of communication that I've been doing for the church, I now have a model that I can go and do for other organizations, right? But I don't have that time factor. So what did? I started to structure, right? Processes in which they would market. I would go out and get contracts, and then I would provide them steps. But that's just structure and how the business should run and who is going to do what tasks. Check this out though. There's also another component that Jethro said. He said, moreover, thou shalt prove out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them. Right? In translation, applicable for me, moreover, out of all of the individuals that I may know, like I said, God has put me in a position where I am doing communication. A lot of individuals or youth individuals are into technology. I was able to find individuals who may be in college or high school that had hours where they would be willing to work. But I'm not just going to select everybody and anybody from the church. I'm going to select individuals who are capable of handling the task that's set before them, because they either done it in church or because they've done it in church and they have an actual desire to do it, right? Some volunteers don't have the desire, but they're able, right? So have the desire, that they fear God and have honesty and integrity. And they're not jealous people, right? Covetous. And then I started to assign them tasks. Right? And he says, to the rulers of thousands, the rulers of hundreds, and the rulers of fifties, and the rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge so. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. Right? So based off of their abilities, some had the ability to handle bigger tasks, some had the ability to handle smaller ones, right? They had autonomy and freedom of creativity to do the assignment that was given to them, right? And certain things that they couldn't handle, I was able to now receive it and to deal with it, to manage it and to structure it. And that made it feasible that while I'm working, supplemental income is starting to come in, not just for me, but for the individuals that are laboring with me, right? And what did that look like? So in the beginning, it was just two, right? And granted, these individuals are not individuals working in at the organization at that particular time, right? But these were individuals that had particular skill sets. Once again, communication, technology. They were great photographers. Both of them were great photographers, definitely videographers as well. I would go on breaks, lunchtime. I would go particular places on weekends, and I would go and try to find places, provide and pitch the service. Once I provide a pitch on the services that can be done, got into a contract, they would go and execute. Whether it's teaching photography or doing photography. If a person wanted a website, they would go do the photography. I would then on the back end go do the website. They would go shoot the event. I would then go and edit the event, right? But it's us as a tandem in the church, utilizing the skill sets that God has allowed us to use in the church to now make a living that they can have funds as they're venturing and getting ready to go off to college or going to spend however they did. And I'm so grateful to these two. When starting out, I was hungry. So I had hungry rates, right? But I wanted to be able to get the experience and the exposure up, and therefore how much they got compensated at that time was appreciative of the sacrifice that they made, as I sacrificed as well. Once I started to get the exposure, once we started to get the exposure, we were able to actually start having better rates as well as getting better contracts. And then at that point, we had multiple young individuals, and I give more detail in the rudiments of how, because I feel like I'm moving off on a tangent. But all of these are Adventists. All of these were individuals that I spent day to day with, communing, individuals that we break bread. We were on the prayer line together every Mondays. We would minister and go over the word. In that same model that I showed you from Exodus chapter 18, they will handle the affairs. If there was anything that they couldn't handle, or they had a technical question that they needed to do in regards to the marketing aspect, they will feed that up to my wife. My wife, if she couldn't resolve it, she will feed it up to me. And then at that time, there are other people who had projects, right? As I was going around, they'll say, hey, I don't need this service, or hey, I need this service, but I will also like a network to be built, or I would like computers to be in the classroom, or I would like X, Y, and Z, and whatever it was. Then I would feed that off to other individuals in the church. And this young man said, you know what, I'm going to take you under my wing, and I'm going to show you how we do it, and we can move forward and start doing things together. And the beauty with that was I was able to grow, have a better understanding. I had so much confidence based off of what I was taught by my big brother. I call him Uncle Paulie, right? But I also was able to utilize that skills in other areas of my life that I never thought. And the time we talked, the time we spent, it's not just about the work. I mean, it's not just about the profit. I know I talked about financial gains, and all these individuals we were able to gain as a collective, right? But the conversations we have, the spiritual leadership, the spiritual discipleship that we've gone through with Paul onto me, with me onto these little ones. It's not about, hey, just doing the work, but the conversations that we had, the prayers that we had, the love that we have for one another. And I still love them to this day. If they give me a call, I'm there in a heartbeat. It's that relationship that we had. We were able to have that bond and that love, and a side product was we were able to make money together, right? Some for short seasons, some for longer seasons, but it all was a particular benefit, and it helped them, some of them, to see where their hearts and their passions was, and to be able to grow in it as well. My wife, then, her business started to pick up. She had ideas and concepts, and from there, she wanted to be able to branch out, and she had a hair care line, right? At this point now, she's also hiring Adventists, right? I'm talking like the network is crazy. So we have the network of individuals that's working within the organization. We have the network of individuals that was working in the opportunity of media marketing that God has impressed upon me. And then my wife's business is starting to take off. And what do? We started working with individuals from the church, right? I would do the websites and the deliveries and the postage and all that stuff. We will make the runs nights and weekends to particular venues and places. And the other individuals would go ahead and they would help with the manufacturing of the products. And the beautiful one was the mastermind also in marketing, and open up a whole different career of people that I've worked with as well after understanding. But it didn't stop there, right? She also partnered with two other women who would go out and look for places that they can do presentations at, that and sell their products, or that they can go to venues where they can sell their products, right? In partnerships, the Bible says two is better than one, for there should be much reward for their labor. If one should fall, the other shall help and lift him up. Woe unto him who have not other, right? For if he falls, he have no one to lift him up. And he indicates later that a three-cord strand, this is Solomon, Ecclesiastes, that a three-cord strand is not easily broken. By working and networking with your church, it opens you up for so many opportunities. And if you're aspiring to be God-like, if you're aspiring to live his purpose, and you're networking with other individuals that do so, everyone climbs together. It's a better season for everybody, right? And like I said, some of them is for seasons. Some are long seasons and some are short. What I hope that you take with it is that this was just my and Anne-Marie story because we're together, right? But here's a recent picture that we all had the opportunity to have at Pastor Thompson's retirement. Our story is just one line. Every individual here, and this is just a small fragment of our church, have their own story of networking, of bonding, of growing, and of supporting individuals in their business and or in their careers. By you not attending, you're missing being an integral part of a brotherhood and sisterhood that supports one another and help one another to grow. Not only here, but for the kingdom. Like I said, the work and the profit was one aspect, but the bonding of the relationship, the supporting of one another, the love upon one another. I love my family, my spiritual family. I love my literal family, my bloodline, my biological family as well. I also love the church, and I pray that you, if you have not been going, please attend and please go. That's it for this one, guys. I feel that this one was definitely long enough, right? I hope that you found some value, some aspect in it that is encouraging. And I do pray that you'll find yourself into the body, not for the financial aspect, but for the love, growth, and development aspect. And when 2 or 3 come together, God is in the midst, and he helps all of us to grow in every dynamic, including the financial. The next one I'll be talking about is the character development that we receive from the church, as well as the mental benefits of being a part of the church. I just want to recap and leave you with this. As you serve the Lord and your community, you build bonds inside and out of the church of people that are willing to help you, right? Bonds strengthen your relationship with your comrades, and they also help to strengthen your relationship with God. Don't get it twisted, right? The amount of prayers and support and conversations that we had outside of work, inside of work, outside the church, inside the church, have helped us to have lifelong eternal bonds that will never be broken, right? Those bonds help to grant you opportunities that will help you to grow in employments and in other ways than you even think. My aim is to show you some of those ways through these presentations. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I pray that you understand where I'm coming from, and this is just one of the offshoots of the benefits. The main is because God said so. But in doing so, you have a Father that loves you and wants you to prosper even as your soul prosper. And that not only will see your spiritual needs, but take care of your practical needs as well. When God, this will be my last statement, when God put the scales over Saul's eyes, he could have just told him, all right, go forth, I'll remove it, you get the point. No, he sent Ananias, right, a human person to have a human connection so that they can build and grow together. I pray that you will find yourself a home, you'll find yourself a body, a spiritual home and a spiritual body that you can be a part of, and that you can love on, and that you can receive love from them as well. All right, family, that's it. I thank you so much for your time. I pray that you found this helpful, right? Please go ahead and serve the Lord. Go ahead and find your family. And I thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is not to negate the benefits of social media. This is not to negate the benefits of watching a sermon on the phone or online. But it's to encourage you that if you're able to do so, to be a part of God's body, and not to just think about coming to the church, but to actually be a part of it. Not an attendant, right? Or not a pew member, but an actual active attendant to your newfound family. See you in the next one, fam.